All right, folks. It's your favorite time of the week. It's our favorite time of the week, and it's Rivals' least favorite time of the week. It's the Baxter Street Boys. I'm your host, Cole Wilcox, joined as always by co-host Jake Gordon. We're excited to come back with y'all after another 12-0 season. It's unbelievable. I keep saying it out loud to make sure that it's really real, and it is. The stuff that we're seeing right now is unprecedented. We're going to enjoy every second of it. But to be honest with y'all, and we tweeted it out earlier, the season is just now starting for Georgia. I think we all knew that coming into the year. We expected to be here. As wild as that sounds, we did expect to be here for back-to-back years. And we're here now. And now it's time to go. So we got a lot to talk about. We're going to go ahead and get right into it. First, I want to tell you about Turtle Box, though. Because you guys know about them. They're the best speaker on the market. If you're watching on YouTube, you see it. This thing's beautiful. You can put it anywhere. It goes with anything. It's durable. It can be used anywhere. I mean, heck, Kenzie was the maid of honor in a wedding the other day, and they used it to get ready. So you know it's special if it's in that room on the bride on her wedding day. So that's all you really need to know about Turtlebox. Go to turtleboxaudio.com and use code BSB10 for 10% off. You will not regret it. All right, boys, let's do it.
10, 12, he's running over people. Oh, you heard the walking. We just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot and broke their nose. We just crushed their face.
Defense, 40, 30, they won't catch him. Go, Swift, into the end zone. Touchdown! The freshman just ran it back to Philadelphia. Throws near sideline, and it's intercepted. Intercepted. Keely Ringo at the 21. Off he goes. 40, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, near sideline. Breaks the tackle. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. Georgia.
I know I'm asking a lot, you guys, but hunker it down one more time.
All right. Jake, how was I guess that's your last game attending as a student?
Yeah. Well, last home game. I'm definitely going to go to the Peach Bowl. That's going to be my Christmas present for my parents, so I'll be at the Peach Bowl. It was definitely a little bittersweet, especially because we played like shit the first half. So.
Yeah, no doubt. That first half was rough to watch. I was a little irritated. I was sitting in a tree stand. It was cold. I was seeing no deer. I was getting super irritated watching us. But we'll definitely get into all that later. Griffin is not with us. He's working right now. So if the production of the show is a little bit down, that's why, because we really don't know what we're doing. That's all Griffin's doing. I was trying to play around with some of the stuff in here. I think this is the only 2-man overlay we got, so I'm just going to keep rolling with it.
Yeah, that's the one me and him used on never mind. I know we had that one. That was the one me and him had used on Friday. So
yeah, this was not bad here. Oh, let's roll with this one. But yeah, let's get right into the game because we got a lot to talk about. We'll talk about the dogs first and talk about some big picture stuff later. But the game itself, what'd you take away from it? Big takeaway.
My takeaway is that Georgia Tech should hire Brent Key. I mean, I'm not even messing with Georgia Tech fans. Like, I genuinely think they should hire Brent Key. He came in with a good game plan. They challenged Georgia and they were winning. Their quarterback looked pretty solid. They really didn't play that bad. It eventually, like, their time was going to run out at some point, and it happened to be in the second half. But I mean, they played a respectable half of football, and that's more than you can normally say about them, especially over the past 4 or 5 years.
No doubt. Yeah, I thought they looked like a completely different team than they have for the last, like you said, 4 or 5 years at least. Definitely since Paul Johnson, even his last few years were brutal. So I'm surprised that he didn't really get any consideration. It sounded like Willie Fritz is going to be there, which I think is a great hire too, though. Like I can't complain about that if I'm a Georgia Tech fan.
Yeah, I know. I think that's definitely a good pickup. But from our side, I think I had the under in this game. I didn't think it was going to be I didn't think this was going to be a roll Georgia Tech 55-0 like, usually happens. Because number one, they have been playing better. Number two, I think heading into LSU, I think the main focus of this game was staying healthy and, making sure everything looked on time. Tune-up game. Yeah,
definitely a tune-up game. But I got pretty animated on Twitter. I was talking about how elite teams don't continue to start out this way. And I think that was the most frustrating part for me is last year we never started slow. Like, we came out of the gate and if you were going to beat us, you were going to have to bring everything you had and you were going to have to beat us. And this team has done that through 4 quarters. They start out slow and they let teams hang around. But at the end of the day, they're not going to beat themselves. They're going to force you to beat them, and no one has been able to. And so that's a little bit worrisome. And people might say on the stream, like, oh, well, you're a pitcher. You're not allowed to have any bad games. You're 100% allowed to have a bad game. But in football, it's a little bit different. Number one, there's only 12. And you're definitely allowed one or two. But when it's consistently happening, that's what's a little bit concerning for me. But then you look at the games like Oregon and Tennessee and all the ones that were considered big, and we just came out of the doors and blew them out. So I don't know what kind of Georgia team we will see for the next 3 games, but I hope it's the one that starts out really, really quick.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you said. I didn't see this until I was out of the game, but what you said about they are clearly the best team, but they aren't unbeatable, I couldn't agree with that more. I think that's definitely the case. And especially another thing that we've talked about, turnovers. Had a turnover-free game the other day, which was nice. I believe it was turnover 3. I'm pretty sure there were no fumbles or anything. I noticed that didn't throw an interception.
No.
Carson Beck lost a fumble. That doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
So, yeah, turnover-free football. That's what's really important. So that's what I'm hoping for. I did notice our DBs actually got picked on a little bit. I was kind of surprised by that, but
start today with a 3-week.
I got a freaking video playing for some reason. All right. Yeah, I was a little bit concerned there. And then you look at the stats after the game, though, and you think Keeley got picked on the whole time, but he got targeted like 9 times, got up 3 receptions for 13 yards or something. Like something stupid. It's like, I don't know. I think DB is such a tough position, especially from like the public's perspective, because we don't know what coverage they're in. Like the average football fan does not have any idea what coverage they're in. They could be in a zone. He could see nobody's in his zone and come up, and it makes it look like they're picking on him. Like it's so tough for like the casual football fan to really know what's going on, who busted a coverage, what it was. But for the most part, like we know what Keely Ringo's got. He's going to be a first-round NFL draft pick, and it's tough for me to really worry about him.
Yeah, I know. And Bullard, he gave up that big play on the first drive. Yeah, it sucked. I mean, it's just going to happen sometimes, though. I don't think the coaching staff was expecting Tech to come out and just take shots like that. And like I said, credit to them. They had a good game plan. But at the end of the day, they still control the game. Tech had 1.4 yards per carry, which is a tiny bit misleading because it does count that punter dropping that snap. But other than that, I mean, we're talking about, you had 53 yards instead of 40. So we can completely control that aspect of the game, which was important.
Right. And let's hit some, go ahead and get the negatives out of the way, and then we can start talking about mostly positive stuff. Sleepwalking starts from the top, man. And I don't know if it's coaching or what, but Stet, even at senior day, somebody said on Twitter he had bedhead. I don't know. Stet came out of the game looking kind of disinterested. And when your quarterback starts looking like that, your veteran quarterback on senior day, I mean, this is his second senior day. So he's probably a little tired of the antics. And I get to thinking about it, though, and you have to feel for the guys that were on the team last year, especially. Like, they won a natty. They're now in prime position to go back to it and try to do it again. They have everything in front of them. That game was literally meaningless in terms of the broad scale. A game is never meaningless when you're playing your rival. But, I could see why you'd be a little disinterested. I really, really could see why you would be. And I have to try to remember that. And they are college guys. And I don't know. I would expect him in his last home game to come out just guns blazing, doing what he does. But, it could speak to the guy he is too. He's not really worried about that stuff and trying to stoke it all in. He's trying to win the freaking big game again. And that's kind of what it looked like to me. And after I thought about it, it kind of calmed me down a little bit.
Yeah, I from Chattanooga at 4:30 Saturday morning and came straight to Athens because I didn't want to sit in traffic, and I just wanted to get back. I had to take care of the dogs on Friday night, so I came back Saturday morning. Got here at about 7. Had some Chick-fil-A breakfast. Fell back asleep until 10 o'clock, and I got up, and I was just like, man, I don't want to get up. I don't want to do anything. I was like, if I was playing in this game today, we'd definitely be on upset alert. But yeah, I know. I mean, I kind of just felt like the team did. I got up, I cracked my first beer at about 11 o'clock. I was supposed to go to the game at 11:30. I had 2 or 3 beers and then went down to the game, and was just kind of feeling a little slow.
Yeah, and Trace Fowler here in the comments, he says, I don't think it's sleepwalking as much as it's just Thanksgiving plus senior day. Rituals matter, and I think it affected him. Stet said it himself. Yeah, I mean, I would put that under sleepwalking umbrella, but I get what you're saying. That all adds into it. You're right. It's a long season too. It is a really, really long season. And when you're just flat out better than the team and it's game 12, you're like, all right, let's just get to the SC championship, blow them out, and then get to December practice. We get to take it easy for a couple, maybe a week or two, kind of get our legs back under us. I get all that. Trust me. When it's game 150 of the minor league season, nobody wants to be there. Nobody on the field wants to be there. I completely understand that. So once I took a deep breath, I calmed down. And it's easy to get upset as a fan's perspective, but we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. I think the last thing that actually is concerning to me, the other stuff is not as concerning. This is what's concerning to me, is the red zone offense has been weird. It's been really, really weird. And maybe it's really vanilla play calling, but I'm tired of hearing that excuse. Like, I'm tired of hearing the vanilla play calling excuse. When it's a tight game, that goes out the window. Like, we're trying to score. When we're down 7-0 against Georgia Tech, we're trying to score, and we settled for 2 field goals before we scored a touchdown. Well, I guess we ended up scoring a touchdown on the one, but we got lucky. But I don't know. I don't know if it's execution. I don't know what it is, but we are not getting – we're scoring in the red zone, but we're not turning field goals into touchdowns.
There was one, I think it may have been the second field goal. I think this put us up 13-7 or 13-10, whichever one it was. Dejon had a hole that you could have drove a truck through, and he just kind of stuttered for like half a second. He ended up only getting a yard or two. He was on the 5. He should have scored easy. So there is some stuff like that, but I think I'm just going to keep drinking the Kool-Aid and praying to God that Monken's just holding on to all of his good plays. But I did love – I made a note of this. I did love the formation, the kneel down formation, like they were going to do a quarterback sneak, and then Bowers and I think it was Kenny. I don't know. I couldn't tell. There was a lot going on. I was in the stands, and then they both split out. It was the woman Brock got called back for a face mask.
Yeah, that one hurt.
That play was dope. I like that one.
Yeah, no, Monken has never not shown up to a big game, and I think that's what we can rest easy knowing. Like, the dude was paid to come in and win these big games on the offensive side of the ball, and he's done it. He's been really good at it too. So I'm not concerned about the play. I personally don't think it's play calling. I think it's a little bit of execution right now. We still have young receivers. Like, think about that. None of the guys we're throwing to right now are draft eligible. And when you put it that way, like it makes a little bit more sense. But somebody did comment on one of my rants, like, this is a young team, this, that, and another. Listen, young team goes out the door in game 12. They're no longer a young team. Like, they're just the team that we have. And you have to execute in those situations. And it might not show up against Georgia Tech. It might not show up when we play Vanderbilt or Auburn, but you have to score touchdowns in the red zone. You have to. And against Oregon, it looked so easy. Against Tennessee, we scored touchdowns in the red zone. Like, those are the games you have to score 7 points and not settle for 3.
I kept finding myself every time it would be something like that, even, maybe just like a 3rd and short. I'm like, man, line up and push these guys off the ball. You are bigger, stronger, and faster than them. Line up and push them backwards. Like, that was my main thing. And then, oh my God, we called a toss in the red zone and about had an aneurysm. I was like, it's fucking James Coley back or something. Like, oh my God.
Dark days.
I was getting so mad.
Is
I
he
was
the
not
worst?
having a good time.
Is he the worst offensive coordinator we've had in our lifetime?
Probably. It's probably him or Bobo.
Schottenheimer.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
He was dealt kind of a bad hand. Yeah, Jim Chaney.
I can't even really judge.
Coley
Jim
was
Chaney
bad,
He had two of the best. Chaney had 2 of the best backs in program history at the same time.
With Sam Pittman coaching the offensive line, so all they had to do was run the freaking ball.
Exactly.
I watched James Coley call just endless zone reads against LSU in the SEC championship in 19, and Jake Fromm not pull a single one of them. And I'm like, all right, at some point, let's just scrap this from the playbook. Like we're sending every guy on the box at DeAndre Swift, and he's still handing it off. He's not running the ball. Yeah, that was some dark days on the offense. But that's what this first half felt like. Like, it really did. It felt like a 2019 Georgia football game where, okay, we're going to win this game, but God, this sucks. Like, this is ugly. This is about as ugly as it gets.
Yep. Well, the good news is we're probably in the playoffs no matter what. I would say.
No doubt.
I would say LSU could beat us 55-0. I'm probably still in the playoffs.
Yeah. Let's get to that. We've hit the negatives, all that. It's hard to find negatives. Like, we're talking about red zone offense here. Like, that's the negative we're talking about. Not like a deficiency at a position or something that we just physically can't do. And we have the highest efficiency in the red zone in the country. Like, we're scoring points. That's not the issue. But we've just been so accustomed to this level of perfection that we've never had before because of Kirby Smart and what his staff has done and the players he's recruited and what they've done on the field. Going back-to-back 12-0, you don't just roll out of bed and do that. Like, ask Ohio State, ask Alabama, ask all these teams has Alabama ever done that?
Not in the college football playoff era. I think the only teams to do it were Clemson and Florida State in the playoff era. Yeah,
that's unbelievable. Like, you don't just do that. That is built over time. The culture has been set, and now we're complaining about red zone offense. But listen, we're 12-0. We have a firm seat in the playoff, and now we can just roll into this LSU game free and easy and just blow the doors off of them.
Yeah, and also, like, I mean, what else are we going to talk about? Kendall Milton was sick. Like, how many times do you want us to get up here and sunshine pump you? I mean, Steph threw for 140 yards. He was efficient. I mean, yeah, Kendall Milton had a great run. I think we're going to start to see Kendall Milton get a little more burn, maybe over Dejon. Dejon's had a rough past couple of games. I mean, he didn't play bad. He still ran for 7 yards a carry, but he always feels like he's just missing one cut or just one read. And sometimes he hits it and he can rip off a big game, but he is definitely just like a chunk guy. He's just going to get you 5 or 6, 4 or 5. It's never going to be the big play, it feels like, with him.
That burst from Kendall Milton was what we have been kind of yearning for since his freshman year, I think.
I think the guy has been,
yeah, I think the guy has been playing hurt for a while. Like, it just didn't look, he looked stiff. He looked upright when he ran. Like, his cuts were just like, what? It looks like he was in mud. And then all of a sudden, these last few games, he's come out from being injured, and he's looked like the old Kendall Milton. That hole was open for a second, and he was gone and threw it before they had any idea what happened, and he was behind the defense. He wasn't doing that early in the year. Like, he's got that burst back, which is awesome. That's just another toy that Monken has to play with now. And I'm super excited for him because he is the most talented guy in that running back room. And if he finds that old burst, which it looks like he has, that is a big, big time get for Georgia.
100%. Another big positive that I had from this game, 11 tackles for a loss and 4 sacks. That's something we really haven't seen this year because Tech's one of the few teams that's really just tried to line up and say, we're going to take shots at you and we're going to – and, hey, I mean, it kind of worked for a little bit. And then Georgia started getting home. They started stopping the run. And that was what really doomed them. And but other than that, I mean, I think the defense played pretty well. The first half was a little ugly. They did give up some chunk plays, but they didn't break. They bent a little bit. I mean, they scored those 7 points, and then they didn't get anything else until garbage time. But it kind of felt like they were controlling at least the first quarter.
No doubt. It's just one of those things, again, we've become so accustomed to it. Like, the defense is going to show up. And chunk plays happen. Like, they happen. We talked about Bullard getting beat, but it was on a 4th and 10 or something. Like, who expected him to throw a slot fade on 4th and 10?
And that was a perfect ball, by the way. That quarterback played really well.
Yeah, like, hats off to Georgia Tech because they came out and played the most fearless game they've played against us in a while. Like you said, they were not scared. They lined up.
They were making incredible, like, one-handed catches too, toe tap,
one-handed catches. Stud, man. And Brent Key had them motivated. They legitimately thought they could come out of the gate and win. And listen, they played like it, and they kind of hit us in the mouth and made us wake up, which is good. Like, we needed another test before we got to LSU. We've been coasting for the past few weeks. And shout out Georgia Tech for the game that they played. It was just a giant talent deficiency. Like, let's be honest. We like I said, we could beat this team blindfolded probably. If they put 14 guys on the field, we could probably beat them. Like, they came out and played their best game, and it was really 30 points short. Like, they had the garbage time touchdown on a trick play. I liked it. Griffin was in the group message. He was all pissed off about it. Like, listen, it's your last game. I mean, they're not going to play again. Might as well have some momentum right into the next season. And that stuff really matters. Like,
Brent Key wants that job.
Care. Do it. Yeah, do it.
Because 30 to 14, or 37 to 14 looks a lot better than 37 to 7.
But yeah, the defense was awesome, man. Who had the sacks?
I know Mike Hill and Sherman each had a half sack. Jalen Walker had a half sack. Tresman Marshall had a half sack. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. That's tackle for a loss. My bad. Mike Hill and Sherman did have half sacks. And then Barrett
Tyke Smith had a sack.
And Tyke had 1. So that's 5. I don't know why it says 4 on here. Actually, no, it's not. I'm just terrible at math. But yeah, Tyke, Bear, Marvin Jones Jr., Mike Hill, and Sherman. 5 players, 4 sacks.
Nice.
You don't come here for the arithmetic, so...
Listen, there's some guys on this list that I think maybe not this weekend, but when you come out of that December practice, you're going to see some guys on the field a lot more than we have to start the year. And Barry Alexander and Marvin Jones are 2 guys that I could see being 2 of those guys that really step up.
Yeah, I'm not trying to rag on anybody in particular, but I think some of the younger edges are going to get a little more burn going into this weekend.
Well, that's what I was actually talking to my dad about today when we were coming home. You think back over the years, and is that me again?
Yeah.
And I got to close this.
Falling apart without Griff.
I got these stats pulled up on ESPN, and it's bugging for some reason.
Yeah, it keeps auto playing the videos.
Yeah. But we were talking about this today. You look back over the years at people who stepped up on, or after we go into December practice, like following the SEC championship game, going into the bowl season, it seems like someone that we don't really know much about always steps up. Remember Azeez Ojulari against Texas? He didn't play practically all year. And then Kirby has an interview like a week before the game, and he's like, this is Azeez Ojulari guy like found himself during this last month, and he is going to play. And he started and had like a sack and a couple tackles for loss. I could see that happening for the young guys because stuff is starting to click. Like we talked about the young team excuse being out of the window, and it is. Like we're 12 games into the season. These guys are sophomores now. They're no longer freshmen. And some of these guys are going to step up. And I've got Marvin Jones Jr. circled because if he's a guy who clicked this year, I don't know where the weakness is in our defense. I really have no clue where it is. I don't see where you would attack us.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And another thing too is I really felt I wanted to mention this earlier. Before I forget it, I wanted to bring it up. The energy in the stadium really changed. And we talked about special teams being a sore spot. When that targeting got called against that guy on Amir Speed, that's when the energy in the stadium changed. People were pissed off about that. That was awful. I mean, we're used to taking cheap shots from them. That's all they know how to do. But yeah, special teams are going to be important too because there's been some sore spots on special teams. But I thought this last week may have been the best game they played on special teams. By the way, Brett Thorson, can I got to pat myself on the back for this. He's the best punter in America. I don't care what anybody says.
He's up there.
And had a great return from Ladd. Great punt coverage. That was Ladd too, tipping the ball out of the end zone. That can be a real advantage in these big games. I know it sounds simple. I know it sounds like super cliche, but if you could play really solid special teams during these big games with plays like that, if you could pin somebody on the one, we saw it should have been a safety against Tennessee. Tech got out of their own end zone, could have got a safety against them. When you can create points with your defense and get the ball back, stuff like that matters. Like, and people just forget just because this team is so talented on defense and they can be so talented on offense, they can play great special teams. I think they could really make the difference.
Well, Kirby's always put his best players on special teams. Like that should tell you right there how important it is. You don't put your best players out there in a violent environment. Special teams is one of the most violent environments there is. If you don't highly regard what is about to happen on that side of the ball. And Kirby's always done that. And look, you see Ladd making those plays. Like you see some of our best players making plays on special teams, and they change the game. They completely change the game. JP Hotsfield said 2 players from Alabama have hit the transfer portal. We going after them? I would not bank on it. Trey Sanders, definitely not. I think it was a corner was the other one. We do not need any more defensive backs. We have the best defensive back room in the country. We will return 3 starters. We will return Malachi Starks at safety. We will return Javon Bullard in the slot corner star position, and we will return Kamari Lassiter. And those 3 might be the best 3 secondary players in the country with Kool-Aid McKinstry. Like that's an unbelievable group. So I don't think we need any. We've heard a lot about Dalen Everett to play the opposite corner next year. We had Jaheim Singletary come in as a guy who's supposed to be a big time dude. Like we've got plenty of weapons out there. We'll think we'll be all right.
And also, when you talk about a lot of guys in the portal, specifically from that school that just beat LSU, a couple other places, you don't have to get fat and happy too early on some of these early guys because I think we're going to see a little bit of action. We really didn't do anything this last cycle that I can think of. Tyke was the year before, but then he tore his ACL.
Eric Gilbert was the year before. JT Daniels 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Darian Kendrick last 2 years ago. Like it would have to be an immediate impact guy at a position of need, which the only one I would see, and I tweeted out today, if we're going to go after a transfer portal guy, go get a true X receiver. Because guys, we're doing this without like George Pickens was our guy last year. If George plays, that team is we win the Natty. But if George plays, we weren't losing. And we're missing that guy. Like Ladd is awesome. Ladd is a great player. Ladd is one of the best wide receivers in the country. And I was excited to see A.D. Mitchell's development this year. It sucks that he hasn't played hardly at all. And I'm hoping we see him again. But at this point, like, can we really bank on that? If he's been out this long, I
think they're going to try to run him out there next week. I hope. Like
that's and you don't really know what you're going to get. He's been out this long. Like maybe he can be that X guy that steps up. But if a guy like Evan Stewart or if a guy like Luther Burden steps into the portal, I think Kirby and Brian McClendon will be all over it. I really do. We just flipped the receiver from Oklahoma, Anthony Evans. Like McClendon's given us a chance at these receivers that we previously would not have had a chance at. Some of these big time guys in the class. We're still working on the Louisville guy, DeAndre Moore. So I think they know there's a deficiency there, but they're still going 12-0 back-to-back years without top end receivers, which is insane.
I didn't see that Marvin got hurt. That's unfortunate.
I haven't heard anything about it though, so maybe it was just like an in-game type thing. But listen, I don't really worry about it for LSU. But if he could practice that full week in December, like he's my pick to click. I think he could come out and start the first playoff game. I really do.
I mean, you think about it, December 31st, man, dude, it's not even November 30th. I don't think there's a November 31st. It's not even November 30th. You talk about that is a long time. And if he could play against LSU, that's great. I know he warmed up with the receivers before the Tech game, which would lead me to believe he has a chance to play against LSU. And even if he doesn't, like I said, December 31st, that's a month. You got a month. I mean, if you're not going to be back in a month, man, you might as well. I'm not disparaging him, but if you can't do it in a month, you may as well just pack it in.
Yeah, agreed. We've been bouncing around a lot, but I don't want to end this without giving Kenny McIntosh his flowers. He's the guy who it seems like when we're at a slow start and things are just kind of mundane and we're just kind of going through the motions, he's the guy who gives us that spark. And it was kind of James Cook last year, and he's completely taken over that role. He hits the big run, and it's just like, all right, here we go. We're about to get going. He has the big plays. He led our team in rushing. He led our team in receiving. He had close to 200 all-purpose yards. I think it was about 180. I had to turn the stats off because the freaking videos kept playing.
The videos were auto-playing.
Yeah. He had at least one touchdown, maybe two.
At 12 carries, 86 yards, 7.2 yards a carry, one touchdown, and then receiving 2 catches for 96 yards.
Yeah.
One of those was an 83-yard catch, but I mean, he still had it. You can't just say
he had it. Like that's if you give us time, we're going to see that again. Like in think about all the big games we've played over the past few years. We have seen a Kenny McIntosh wheel route mixed in there. Think about Arkansas at home. He had the big one on the second drive. Against Tennessee, he had the big one in the second quarter. He was extremely utilized against Michigan in that game. Like Todd Monken loves him, and as he should. He can do it all. And I think we're just going to see more and more Kenny Mack as this season goes on. We might have been preserving a little bit throughout the year, which I love, because running back is a tough position. But when you get to the finish line, you want guys with 2 feet under them. It looks like we're getting full-blown Kenny Mack, and like we talked about, we're getting full-blown Kendall Milton. Those are 2 horses in the backfield, and they're fully healthy, and I think you're going to see both of them unleash in these next 3 games.
So 3 games left. Over under half a passing touchdown.
For Kenny Mack?
Yeah.
The safe bet there is obviously the under.
I just don't know if they'd be ballsy to pull it off two years in a row.
I do see some form of trick play coming from Monk, though.
I do actually, yeah.
We'll have something. We will have something. Yeah. I think
it'll be
involve Bauer. I don't know, but that came out of nowhere last year. Like Kirby Smart never allows these things to happen. But
I don't think we had ran a trick play all year that I could think of.
We pulled it out in the biggest game of the season up to that point in what was a close game at the time. Like, I think we were at like 14-3 maybe. Like that's not a blowout. And we whip it out and score.
Cole just disconnected himself.
You gotta be kidding me.
We're still not worried. But yes, no, I'll pick up where you left off. Yeah, that was just kind of like, that was how they put the dagger in Michigan. After that game was over. Like, you could just tell all the wind was sucked out of them. All the momentum was going Georgia's way. And that's kind of, I think, how they like to use plays like that. I don't think it's necessarily something you want to have to lean on. But if it's something that you can pull out to put a game away like that, I think it's pretty intense. All right, well, I'm going to read some comments. Johnny, what's up? Hunter, good to see you as always. Catching up on comments. I think we're good. You all right? The one show we don't have Griff. I'll text him and tell him.
Unbelievable.
I was saying, I don't know if you hear me. I said the one show where we don't have Griff.
No. Yeah, I saw you laughing, but I think I just kicked my cord out of my mic, I think. Unbelievable.
I got you.
Yeah. I don't even know what
But
we're talking
anyways,
about now. I was rattled.
Trick plays. Yeah, I mean, I
yeah.
kind of finished your point. I think I knew where you were going with it, but I was
Yeah,
saying
no
they kind
doubt.
of use that to finish games instead of having to lean on it. And I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're leaning on trick plays, you're just not a very good football team. Plain and simple.
Yeah, Gus Malzahn.
Gus Malzahn, yeah. I bet Auburn wish they had Gus Malzahn right now, though. Lordy. Who are they going to hire?
I don't, dude. Honestly, I said this earlier. At this point, they should just hire Cadillac. Like,
honestly,
he seems to be pretty well liked, and you guys are just like,
can he recruit? Like, that's really the main thing. Can he recruit and can he hire staff? Like,
I feel like
that's all you need.
I feel like you can recruit. I mean, if you go get like Garrett Riley from TCU, I mean,
he's going to establish a good culture. But I don't know. Exactly. Anything else before we move on to big picture stuff, but with the Georgia Tech game specifically?
No, not that I can think of. I think I'm good.
Yeah. The second half was as dominant as it gets.
Oh, Marcus Roseby-Jack insane catch in the end zone. That was dope.
He's playing well, man. He's playing really well. He's the guy who stepped up when we needed somebody to step up. We predicted all these guys who it was going to be. Dylan Bell's done well. Dom has done well, but Marcus Roseby-Jack has made big catches. Like, it's always on third down. It's always when we need a score. Like, him and Stet have a pretty special bond. So that's when AD gets back and he's our third guy. Like, that's pretty good.
Really
that's when you're like, all right, we're pretty deep now. That's what I'm excited for. Then we always have the two best tight ends in the country. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see everything unleashed. Like, you only got them for a little bit longer. You know, you only have Darnell for 3 more games. Let's see it. Open it up. If you have anything in that book, Monk, open that thing up because I want to see it.
Now it's time to empty the clip.
No doubt. Time to empty it. All right. We've talked about this. So shout out to the Dogs, 12-0. Kirby Smart, you're awesome. Like, what you've done is insane. And we just want you to know we appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. Dogs are in the playoffs. I think we both said it regardless they're in the playoffs. Michigan is in the playoffs, I think. I think regardless if they lose.
Yeah.
Personally,
absolutely embarrassed. I think they are a team that if they got absolutely embarrassed, they could get left out.
Maybe.
Because they don't have they don't really have that good of wins. I mean, besides Ohio State. Is that great of a win?
And Penn State all of a sudden looks good, but they haven't beat a single top 25 team. They just kind of riding along. That's the Big Ten, though. Like, you beat Michigan.
Do this with the Big Ten every year, man.
Yeah, it's the Big Ten. All right. I still think they'd probably be in. TCU is a team that personally I believe if they lose this game and it's not just an absolute embarrassment, I think they're in, which is insane. Like, think about there's never been a
one-loss Big 12 team
who just loses their conference championship to like a non-playoff team and gets in. That's like unheard of. But stack the resume against Ohio State. Stack the resume against Alabama. Against Alabama,
it technically has the toughest schedule in the country. Me and Griff talked about this on the last show. I was like, I want to stick up for TCU fans because I think it's such bullshit how people are like, oh, well, if they get in the playoffs, they're going to get smoked. They're undefeated, so they just shouldn't go to the playoffs because you think they're going to lose.
They're pretty freaking good. Like, at some point, it stops becoming a fluke, and they're just pretty good. Like, they beat teams in so many different ways. We talk about that's what's special about Georgia is we can beat teams in so many different ways. They have too. They've outscored teams. They held Texas to 10 points on the road. Like, just
I don't think we'd roll over TCU like a lot of like national pundits probably would think that.
Agreed.
I don't think
agreed.
It would be
I
like
think we didn't pull it away, but I don't know. Like, even mentioning Alabama in the same breath as TCU this year is ridiculous. What's Alabama's best win? Texas? Yeah, TCU did that too. They beat them, and they've also beat Kansas State, who's going to be a top 10 team next week. They've also beat.
Ohio State has nothing except a 21 loss at home to their biggest rivals. So
exactly.
I don't think
that's what I'm saying. If TCU loses this game and it's not a complete embarrassment, their resume stacks up with Ohio State and Alabama's better. They win that argument when you really get down to the nitty gritty. The only one that can really cause chaos to me is USC, but man, they're playing good. Like they're playing really, really, really good. And this is a team that lost to Utah on a 2-point conversion on the road without Jordan Addison. Like I think they open up the can on Utah. I'll be honest with you.
I think it'll be interesting to see who ends up as the 1 seed because I think it would be such a Jim Harbaugh move because he's such a little worm. I think it would be such a Jim Harbaugh move to pick the Peach Bowl, even though he would probably pick it anyways, but he would pick the Peach Bowl just so Georgia would not have that home field advantage and he would make them play out west if they had to play TCU as a 2-3 matchup, which is smart. It's a good strategy. I can't really say that I knock it, but that's absolutely what would happen. So Georgia needs to be pretty convincing in this last game, at least I think. Because you pretty much decide if you get a home game or not.
Right. Agreed. I agree. We got to come out and do it. People would be so pissed that bought Peach Bowl tickets too, and I'm.
It's me. I would be pissed.
Yeah, I almost bought them the other day. Like I'd be just as pissed. But you know good and well, the most marketable matchup in this playoff would be Michigan versus USC.
Yep.
And I think the committee is going to try to do it some way. They could jump TCU with USC, which if USC comes out and dominates Utah, that would be avenging their only loss. Yep. And they probably have more ranked wins than TCU. So you could at least have a case to it. But
I think TCU is going to lose Saturday anyways. I don't think they'll be out of the playoffs, but I do think they're going to lose. They were down 10 to Kansas State before Adrian Martinez got hurt last time. It's hard to beat the same team twice. It's just not looking great for them, in my opinion. And this is coming from somebody who bet TCU plus 1,400 to win the Big 12 before the season started, just because they were just one of the most random teams and had great odds. That was one of the luckiest picks I've ever made.
What's crazy, though, Jake, is everyone has been predicting them to lose for the last month and a half.
I know.
And even me. And then I get to Saturday, and I look at the lines, and I'm like, I'm betting TCU. Well, all week, I'm like, they're going to lose. Like, Texas, I was like, 7-point spread. Vegas is just telling you about to get blown out. And then the game's about to start, and I'm sitting there, I'm looking at my phone, and I'm like, why would I not take TCU with 7 points right here? Did it. This past week, I look at 9.5 Iowa State. I'm like, they're going to beat them by 50. Hammered it. Week before, like, they're beating teams. They're dominating teams, really. And I think Kansas State's a really good team. I don't know. I think TCU's playing for something now. Like, I think they got a chip on their shoulder. I like TCU. Have we seen the spread?
I haven't. I'm sticking up for TCU. I just think it's bullshit when people are automatically just like, oh, what? Dude, we're better than TCU. All right, well, TCU hasn't lost and your team has, so shut up. Like
Ohio State and Tennessee we're better than TCU. How do you come to that conclusion? Like, how on earth is Ohio State and Tennessee fans coming? We beat
Ohio State just got bent over a barrel. They gave up over 250 rushing yards for the second year in a row. I don't want to hear
all in the second half too.
I've been telling you, Ryan Day turns into Butch Jones whenever those lights come on. He's not a good coach, especially not when the lights get bright.
This is off topic, but if y'all want an absolute lock, a weekly lock, fade Florida State and Louisville in college basketball.
Basketball, they're awful. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Fading Florida State is an absolute cash cow, and so is Louisville. They suck. Okay.
Florida State's like 1-5, and Louisville's like 0-6.
They're terrible. They're terrible. I bet Nebraska -1. They're beating them by 1,000. All right. So, Ohio State has to be 5 tomorrow night, right?
I would say I would lean yes. I don't think Alabama's done anything that impressive.
That's my thing. Like, at least Ohio State has the road win at Penn State. What does Bama have?
I kind of thought Bama was going to be able to sneak back in, but no, they're dead in the water.
They're dead. Like, they can't get in. People that were saying that, it's funny. I haven't heard from an Alabama fan in 2 months. I have not heard from an Alabama fan in 2 months, and all of a sudden here they are back.
I was actually just like really drunk. I was like, Bama's gonna get back in the playoffs, aren't they? And I wasn't saying like I was scared. I was like, here these bastards come, about to backdoor their way right back in. And then I just kind of forgot that Ohio State was technically not completely 100% out of it. So yeah.
well, here's the thing for me, and people on Twitter, y'all are scared of Alabama getting in. Number one, I don't know why we'd be scared of them. We beat them. We literally beat them in the same spot last year pretty handily. Second off, what would make me mad is I've been against the expanded playoff since it started. I think pretty much everybody on this podcast has. Like, I love Saturdays in the fall. It is my favorite time of the year. I love every second of it. I watch it from front to back. I could sit on my couch, and I'm a guy who has to be up moving, doing something. I feel lazy if I don't. I could sit on my couch and watch it for 12 hours and love every second of it because there's so much passion.
100%.
If Alabama got in the playoff, it would be a complete slap in the face to the entire regular season. And at that point, I'm ready to expand it if they get in. Because if it's not going to matter, then yeah, I'd like to see some more cool games at the end of the year. Because the expanded playoff games will be awesome. I don't think anyone has disputed that from the start. The fact is, it pulls away from the absolute cutthroat game that Ohio State and Michigan just had, that we had with Tennessee 3 weeks ago. That is what I love about college football. And if Bama got in there, it would be just an absolute bird flip to TCU, to all these, to even the 2-loss Pac-12 champion. It would be an absolute flip off.
I would say the only way that Bama gets in is Ohio State has to win. Kansas State has to win like 66-0, like absolutely embarrass them. And then USC's probably got to get embarrassed too, at least a little bit. I wouldn't know if embarrassed is the word, maybe a 2-touchdown loss. And then it's Ohio State, Bama sliding in for those two, because normally I would say Clemson should be 5, but they lost 2. So,
and I'll be honest with you, like I'm sitting here just absolutely bashing the fact that Bama getting in, but a Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Michigan playoff would be an absolute powerhouse, powerhouse playoff. That would be sick.
I just think it's. I just always hear like, oh, it's the most marketable matchup. It's the big brand. And I don't know anybody who's just not watching it because of the teams that are playing. I don't 100%. Care who's playing. I sat through Alabama and Cincinnati last year. That game was over from the second it kicked off.
I actually really, really want Georgia USC in Atlanta. I will be at that game if that happens. That would be awesome. That would be an awesome, awesome game. And I would love to beat Lincoln Riley any way possible. So bring me all of that matchup.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be us and then USC or TCU. I don't really care which one. I think I would probably, honest to God, I might rather play USC. As fantastic as Caleb Williams is, he's all they got. Travis Dye tore his ACL. Jordan Addison's incredible, but obviously those two are, one and the same. You need one for the other. That's really all you got to do. They don't have anything else.
Well, that is what is nice knowing as a Georgia fan, whether we play TCU or USC. Or even Ohio State, we're going to be way better than them up front on both sides of the ball. Like, that is where we're going to dominate them. And even Michigan, who is really, really good up front, that's their identity. We saw a different class we were in last year when we played them. The only team that could possibly match us there year in and year out is Alabama. And this year they can't. They can't match us this year. I'm going to do a quick victory lap, because coming into the year, all I heard was, we might as well just play the national championship tomorrow. Like Alabama and Ohio State have 2 of the most loaded rosters we've seen in college football. This, that, and another. And they never, ever did. All you had to do was look up front, and I'll say it to the day I die. Football is won in the trenches. I don't care what style of offense you're playing. It is one up there. Bama has a plug-and-play left tackle, and you're telling me they're just going to be a dominant team from Vanderbilt? Come on, dude. And then you have Ohio State, who gets a defensive coordinator. What, you think he's a wizard? You think he can just come in and wave a magical wand and all of a sudden he creates physicality? That takes time. Ohio State will be fine in years to come. Ryan Day's a fraud, but Jim Leonard's a good coach. So, not Jim Leonard, Jim Knowles. So, I'm going to take a victory lap because I've said it from the start. Those teams are not just world beaters. They're still very good teams, but they're not world beaters. So, shout out Alabama fans. Y'all lost 2 games and you're out of the playoff.
And another thing, too, is Ohio State. Their receivers are obviously really good.
Insane.
And they have a really good quarterback. We saw that work for Tennessee. You run the ball against them, you lean on them.
You make them one-dimensional. It doesn't matter how good your guys are. If we know you're going to pass it every play, we can defend that 100%. If you're gashing us in the run game and then we have to add an extra guy out of the box, that's when you can torch us. But if we make you one-dimensional, you're toast. We would make Ohio State one-dimensional in the first minute and a half of the game because they would not be able to run the ball against us, just like Michigan did.
I know, and we were talking about it on the show. People get so tore up over playoff rankings, and it always works itself out. There goes Clemson, done. There goes LSU, done. We don't got to worry about, what if LSU beats? Doesn't matter, done. Like we're down to the we got the cream at the top. Yep. Alabama is taking a gasping, dying breath this weekend, barely in the ICU, barely alive, and then it's Ohio State, TCU, and USC. It's going to be one of those 3, probably.
Yeah. And then listen, I get it. People will be like, well, Bama only lost to 2 games, but top 10 teams by 4 points. Yeah, and they've also beat teams by 3 points. They're 7 points away from being 12-0, and they're 7 points away from being like that. If you're going to play one side, you got to play the other. They haven't dominated teams this year. That's just the team that they are. I don't know what happened. They're going to change both coordinators. I guarantee it. And they're going to be a completely new team next year. Year 3 of the rebuild, as Nick Saban would say. But that's about all I got for tonight, Jay. You got anything else?
No, we're going to be doing our SEC. We did play basketball today. We played East Tennessee State. Cario had a good game. Like I said, we talked about this on the last show. We're going to get really into the nitty gritty. We got a good non-conference coming up as soon as we get past. We got 3 more bye games. I already have the tweet locked and loaded for when Mike White beats. Who do we play next? I'm not sure. It's a bye game. Maybe Florida A&M. He will have matched Tom Crean's win total from last year in November.
That's sorry.
But yeah, we're gonna get more into basketball, of course. Football, we're gonna be winding down a little bit. We've talked about this too. We're probably gonna do a bowl pick show. We're gonna go through, pick all the bowl games, maybe do like a little contest, pick 10 of our favorites.
No doubt.
Be fun.
Speaking of the contest, Griffin will have a primed up seat to see whoever Georgia Tech hires as their coach next year, because he's going back to check the numbers to make sure, but he's last. He got last, folks. Me and Jake clobbered him, and we will be picking a game for him to go to. I thought about taking it easy on him and at least giving him a pretty good game, maybe a night game, and maybe if Clemson comes in.
I would have given him Ole Miss, but it's at Ole Miss. They did a home and home.
Yeah. We'll try to find him at least a decent game to go to. I'm not going to be completely ruthless on him because he works hard for us, but he will be watching Georgia Tech next year in the first year of the rebuild. So shout out to Griffin. Hope you enjoy that piece of crap.
We could give him Louisville. It's Mercedes-Benz. It's like the Chick-fil-A kickoff.
Yeah.
Game. Come on. That's not even bad. Nah, we got to take it a little harder on him.
Yeah, no doubt. He's got to go to Boppy Dodd. He's got to go.
They got North Carolina at home.
Yeah, Drake May. You get to see Drake May in person.
There you go.
He might be a number one pick. There you go. Good for Griff. We'll take care of him. He can buy the ticket, but we'll take care of him. All right, folks. We appreciate you guys listening. Y'all are awesome. Live chat was popping as always.
We will be back. We'll be back this week for our actual recorded show. We'll be breaking down the SEC championship. A little more X's and O's.
No doubt.
And really
excited,
getting into
I'm excited.
Yeah.
There's something special about the SEC championship in Atlanta. Like, I want to win it bad. I really do. And I know last year people were like, well, we're in anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I was pissed. I want to see that freaking blue and yellow confetti come down. Something about that Auburn game still is special in my heart. And yeah, we'll have a lot to talk about this week. But everybody have a great week. Enjoy 12-0. You should win every battle on Twitter. But if you don't, tap us in at Backstreet Boys. I promise we'll be there. We'll help you out. And follow us while you're at it. Appreciate you guys. Go Dogs.